Hey there, welcome to Third Thursday, Lunch and a Divorce Lawyer. I'm attorney Peter Olson, Chicago Family Law Group. So grateful to have everybody jumping on our Facebook Live today, and also particularly thankful and appreciative to have Matt Margolis, an elder law and estate planning attorney. Do I say you're from Park Ridge? Is that what that's on your website, Matt, isn't it?
You got it. Yeah, that's where we're at. Yep.
Cool. Yeah. The beautiful Northwest Highway. Fond memories of Park Ridge. One of, I don't know, 5 or less places I've actually lived in my life. Park Ridge.
That's right. I remember that. Yeah.
So yeah, no, thanks for jumping on. What's the real world? So in right, I once in a while handle a divorce or a custody case, and I feel like I'm always kind of like, hey, what's my, like I always think the client cares about like, hey, what's my real world win? I always feel like it's things like getting more time with my kids, or, getting somebody out of an abusive relationship, or, kind of protecting them financially, going through a divorce, like from a former husband or wife. Those are some things, I don't know, I think of as like my real world wins. What are kind of like your like real world things you're doing for your clients in the estate planning elder law space?
What are we doing? So, I'd say in situations, real world wins. I'd say for sure situations where, we've got an older individual coming to us, typically through their adult children. They're starting to slip cognitively. They don't have any documents in place, and getting them set up before they inevitably get to a point where they're unable to sign any legal documents. And so to me, that's huge. A lot of people, when it comes to estate planning, and I'm sure without really knowing it, you probably know it, it's just people procrastinate.
Right.
People don't get this stuff done. They wait till the last minute, right? Until there's a crisis. So, for sure, getting those documents in place before somebody's incapacitated. We've dealt with some really close calls. We deal with a lot of situations where we're having to get doctors' letters in place just to confirm that somebody can sign documents. And then I'd say, other situations are, some big wins for us, for our clients. On the elder law side, we help people apply for Medicaid, and so that's great. But where we can really provide a lot of value, and where people, I think, really appreciate our service, is when we're helping them not just apply for Medicaid, but protect some assets. And so we worked with a number of individuals, and we've always got a handful or more clients where, they were not proactive. They didn't do anything from a planning standpoint prior. Now they're moving into a nursing home. And, most people think that it's too late at that point to protect anything, something, and that they're just going to kind of spend all their money down and apply for Medicaid. And the reality is, we can protect about 50 to 60% of somebody's assets above what Medicaid allows them to keep at the last minute, really in a crisis scenario. And so those are huge wins for us and for our clients, obviously. I mean, it's we feel good, but I'd argue that they feel a little better.
Absolutely. No. So, I mean, that's right. I mean, yeah, like I feel like, I want a sense of accomplishment. I want a sense of accomplishment for like people who work for us, for, I'm sure you feel the same way, but yeah, it's like the client is one who has to kind of like live with this.
Correct. Correct.
For better, or sometimes for worse. Not in your case, but I don't know. Family law can be a little combative. Yeah,
probably more so than what we do.
The capacity issues, I could surely see that. My wife's been hammering me, kind of to do an estate plan. I am in my mid 40s, but even more so the law firm succession plan. That's what she's been hitting me on. Like, what do I do if you just who do I call, Peter? So
really quick, I had a client actually email me earlier today, say, her husband had a practice for, 50 years, passed away a number of years ago. And she just reached out to me today. We've kind of figured everything out, but she just realized, she's like, there's about $1,800 sitting in my husband's IOLTA account, right? In his client trust account.
Right.
We can't account for any of this. And it's sort of like, where does it go? And so, as attorneys, I feel like it's especially important that we have some kind of plan in place. And, normally we wait until, normally we work on that plan later than we should.
Yeah, no, it's made my list of 8 personal goals for the year. So that means I'm serious, along with, losing weight and I don't know what else is on there.
All the above, right?
Off the top of my head, I think I'm doing a triathlon in October. You know, those sorts of the important stuff.
That's awesome.
So, estate planning, Medicaid planning, anything else in your top, I don't know, 3 or 4 things you guys are doing, or you as a practice, or you as an individual attorney?
You know what, that's the crux of what we do here. You know, we always say we kind of practice within a box. I think we're a lot like you. You know, we know what we're good at, and we're good at it, and we don't try to reinvent the wheel as it relates to any other area of the law. So, you know, we all the other stuff we kind of just refer out.
Okay.
You know, not worth screwing around.
Agree. Yeah, specialization is the answer, especially in an urban area. I feel like it's talking to some lawyer in Wyoming recently. He's like, oh yeah, it's still okay to like do X, Y, and Z, you know, these like disparate practice areas. It's like, yeah, maybe in Wyoming it is, but probably not in Chicagoland. No. So what's a thumbnail on like your background from like, I don't know, college, law school to present? How did you find yourself in the estate and elder law, like small law firm chair in the northwest suburbs of Chicago?
Yeah. All right. I don't know how much time you have, but let's see if I can cut it down. So
3 minutes.
So going back to when I was in junior high.
Oh gosh, here we go.
Oh, really?
That's cool. I saw it on your website. There was a reference to 7th grade.
Yeah. So when I was in junior high, that's when I basically knew I wanted to be a lawyer. I knew I wanted to help people. I wanted to help people, and I wanted to make money. You know, I had 2 uncles that were both lawyers, and I remember from an early age, neither one of their wives worked, and they were able to support their families. And I thought that was pretty amazing, even at a young age. So that's kind of where it started. Then, you know, fast forward a number of years. When I got out of law school, so I went to law school at John Marshall. I mean, I'm Chicago born and raised. You know, I grew up in Skokie, went to DePaul for undergrad, John Marshall for law school. You know, I always say, other than traveling, I've kind of lived within probably a 10-mile radius my entire life. And so in law school, I thought I was convinced I wanted to be a personal injury attorney. I was working for 2 attorneys, small firm. They did personal injury and criminal defense. I knew I wasn't really interested in the criminal defense side. That really didn't excite me, but the personal injury side I really liked. Well, they ended up when it came time to study for the bar exam, they kind of dropped me and didn't respond to any of my calls, emails, texts, anything when I was trying to come back to them to work for them after the bar. And so basically ended up found a job with another attorney in the city who did personal injury work. He went to law school with my uncle, 30 years ago. And this guy was willing to basically give me a desk rent-free downtown, and basically said, you know what, you can bring in whatever business you want. You can kind of eat what you kill, and I'll give you some work to work on, and I'll pay you, I'll pay you out of it. And he was a great mentor. His name was Conrad Sefcik. We're still, I like to be closer with him now, but we just, life goes on, and, we're both busy, but that worked out for about 1.5 years, and it got to a point where I couldn't do it anymore. I wasn't making enough money. I was living with my parents in their house in Skokie, making enough money to go out on weekends. So honestly, looked on Craigslist, and on a Craigslist ad, when that was, I don't even know if that was like still a thing even 11 or 12 years ago, but I looked on Craigslist, found a job posting, looked interesting, and ended up going on the interview. It was an estate planning and elder law firm in the suburbs. And at the time, I could tell you I was not thrilled about it at all, because I was before this, I was downtown in court, arguing motions and whatnot. And the idea of going into the suburbs and in my head at the time, working with old people was less than what I had imagined myself doing as a lawyer. I ended up getting the job, and I needed a salary, even though it was not that much money. And within 3 months, I realized that was it. That's what I wanted to do, and that was my calling. And I think I really enjoyed. I felt like I was really helping people accomplish something that was important to them. I realized I didn't like being in court as much as I thought I did. I wasn't having to argue with other attorneys all day. I might have been dealing with some crazy family members and siblings not getting along, and parents and their kids not getting along, but short of playing a little bit of a mediator, I really just felt like it was a nice area of the law to practice in. And so I ended up staying at that firm for 4 years, learned a lot. And then my now partner, Lauren Weldon, she joined that firm with me the last year I was there. So we worked together for about a year, and that's when we left to start our practice. You know, I knew early on, I was never like a big firm type of guy. It's never what I wanted. I always wanted to run my own law firm, and I knew, you know, being an attorney would allow me to do that. So that's it. We've had our practice, and now we've had our practice for a little over 7 years. We landed in Park Ridge because my partner lives in Mount Prospect, and my wife and I were living in the city at the time. It seemed to be somewhat of a happy medium.
Right.
We knew we didn't want to be in the city, and knock on wood, you know, life is good. We're continuing to help people and families, and you know, help people accomplish what's important to them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That sounds great. And yeah, I would assume it's very meaningful work. I remember, here's just a super short, funny aside, was I had sort of a funny or similar path in this sense. I remember my second year of law school having a great summer job at a sort of a PI firm, no, it was insurance defense. So they were like defending the insurance, you know, they were defending the PI cases. It's down at, I think it was at 150 West East Wacker, which one of the, it was at Wacker and Adams. So it was great. It was convenient to the Union Station, and it paid great. But it was awful in the sense that you had you weren't dealing with real people. You were dealing with like insurance companies and legal professionals. And that's literally when I literally worked in the elder law clinic at the Southern Illinois University School of Law, my last couple of years of law school. Now, I'm not really doing elder law anymore. I'm not a competitor of yours. But in the same sense, you know, family law is the same in the sense you're dealing with an individual, and it's like this person across from me, you can really like help them and like change their life for the better. It's not just like these random kind of like legal world that like hey, maybe you're getting a win, but it's really it's a win for somebody like 3 steps removed from you instead of like the person in front of you. So
yeah, it's different. You know, I've never been in that area. I've never practiced any area of the law where my client wasn't an individual. So it's hard for me to even relate to the idea of representing a business or a company where, you know, like you said, you feel like you're so far removed. Even if you're working with somebody at the company, it's like, yeah, but you to them is like me to the law firm I work for. You know, we're not the ultimate client, or so it's interesting.
Yeah, no, it definitely changed my trajectory. Just like the difference between like that path A or path B. I was just doing a little, you know, prep for this this interview today, and is this a true statement, Matt, that if somebody gets divorced, I'm doing my family law hooks right now.
Yeah, of course. Well, lay it on me.
That if somebody was like a previously appointed fiduciary, I'm just going to call them executor, trustee, or power of attorney, does that then boot them from that role if now you're my ex-husband or wife?
Okay, so let's answer that in a couple different ways, right? So
let's do it.
When we look at a will, right? So we look at a last will and testament. If my spouse and I get divorced, and she's named, realistically, if you're married, your spouse is probably named as the executor,
right?
And probably your first beneficiary, right? Your primary beneficiary. You might probably hopefully you've got contingent beneficiaries after your spouse, but your spouse is probably your primary executor, primary beneficiary. Upon divorce, even if you don't update your documents, your spouse is treated as if she died before you.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Okay, so it basically wipes the spouse off the document. Okay, when we're looking at a trust, okay, so if we're looking at a revocable living trust, then any provision in which the former spouse was named, whether it's a trustee, whether it's a beneficiary, etc., that part of the trust is deemed to have been revoked. So sort of very similar in concept, basically, as if your spouse predeceased you. And then for powers of attorney are a little tricky. Okay, so powers of attorney, there's a little bit of a difference now. And of course, everything I'm saying is Illinois law. So I don't know if people are tuning in from anywhere else.
For sure.
So just want to plug that. So I'm not giving legal advice for anybody in a different state.
Sure.
We've all got to throw our disclaimers out there. So for a power of attorney for property, okay, so the property power of attorney is the legal document where I'm naming somebody to make financial decisions for me in the event that I'm incapacitated upon the divorce. That if anywhere that my spouse is named in the power of attorney, typically again, your spouse is probably your first agent that you name in the power of attorney. It's as if your spouse passed away. At the time of basically at the time of the divorce, it's like your spouse passed away. So even if you don't update the property power of attorney, my ex-wife is now off, and whoever I've named next would be the person that would step in line for me. However, as it relates to the healthcare power of attorney, none of this applies. So for healthcare decisions, the divorce has zero impact. So in effect, that ex-wife of mine can still pull the proverbial plug. You got it.
Solid.
You got it. So hey, if that's what you want, great. Maybe your ex-spouse would be the best person, because at this point, maybe they have zero emotion, which is almost what you want. If that's the decision you want them to make. But yeah, that's funny that healthcare power of attorney doesn't go away.
That's good information. Seriously, that's a new, because honestly, I mean, I don't feel like I'm looking at that kind of stuff as much as I should, because I don't know, the generic person's getting divorced when they're 35 or something and not 80 or something. But that is good info, because I feel like the big reminder I'm giving people at the end of like a divorce is the beneficiary stuff, meaning, you're on bank account 401k, because a lot of that stuff, if you don't move me off your 401k, you're getting that. There isn't a lot of that like self-effectuating or there's some classic cases with like life insurance policies where the ex-wife got $1 million. And
I was just going to say that. Yeah. I mean, as it relates to like if you look at joint ownership, so if you and your ex are joint on any accounts, or definitely beneficiary of a life insurance policy or IRA or any kind of retirement account, you're right. I mean, you have to be proactive and take them off of that.
I did. Yeah, no, absolutely know that, and that's one of my huge bigger things post divorce. I did not know the healthcare, the power of attorney. So I'm gonna add that to my checklist.
Same with the HIPAA. So if somebody's got a HIPAA release, so when as part of the estate planning we do, and a lot of practitioners now are including this sort of in the estate planning package, if you will. A lot of us will include HIPAA the healthcare authorization, right? Where I can name a plethora of people that could step in and communicate with my doctor or various medical professionals if I'm incapacitated and I'm not able to give direction as far as who my medical professionals can talk to. Not necessarily make a decision, but get information. And so that one does not go away either. So that one you have to be proactive, and you've got to remove that ex-spouse off of that as well. So that may not come up as much, but something to consider.
No, for sure. Hey, and I don't want to, keep you too long and drown on forever, but we talk about this Medicaid planning, and maybe we could, it's hard to do Medicaid planning cliff notes, but I had actually could you give me, what's the best way to get at this in 3 minutes or less? I had reached out to you a few months ago, 6 months ago or so, and it was related to two 80-somethings who owned a home together and are going through a divorce. And one of our clients was thinking, she was thinking about, how do I get into a Medicaid sort of nursing home facility? And, I was trying to get, frankly, use your expertise related to how to fund, her future housing, and, what do they do with this house they're living in? And that's why I know enough to kind of trigger a few issues in my head.
Sure.
And so it was like, when do we get divorced? Do they stay married? Related to that Medicaid stuff. So what is sort of a thumbnail on, Medicaid planning? And I mean, is there a simple way to do it, or do I need to invite you back for another 30 minutes?
Well, listen, I could probably talk for an hour on Medicaid planning, depending on how deep we want to go. But, it's Medicaid planning can be tricky. The reality is when somebody's applying for Medicaid and you're a married couple, they look at all your assets. All right. And it doesn't matter if I've got assets in my name only, or my wife has assets in her name only. You know, they're not just looking at the joint assets, they're interested in everything that we have as a couple.
Right.
When there's a divorce, you know, or there are situations where, you know, and I'm not sure if this is what you're getting at, but there's situations where people will come to us and inevitably somebody has probably said something to them, or they've done some research online where they're like, you know, should we get a divorce? Because if my spouse is going on Medicaid, does it make sense for us to get a divorce to kind of divide the assets in an effort to try to protect something? And so it really depends, right? I mean, if somebody's just looking to get divorced because, you know, they're ready for a divorce in a more traditional sense, well then,
Right.
for sure, and then we can kind of figure things out. I don't know if that's your question, or if the question is more related to the idea of using a divorce as a mechanism for trying to protect assets. So I don't.
I mean, I was, you know, I was so disjointed or kind of like, you know, semi-ignorant on it. You know, that's interesting. Yeah, you know, kind of maybe dividing assets. But I was really, when I was coming at you with that question a few months ago, it was really almost tied to like, could we do something with the house to keep the house, and maybe somehow the person who's not going into the nursing home facility could keep the house, and we could structure the divorce in such a way. That's where, you know, I was just going down different roads, right? I'm still, that case actually still isn't done for what it's worth, but the information is still kind of very relevant in terms of what we're thinking about doing.
We're talking about a traditional divorce then, a situation where Medicaid or not, this couple wants to get a divorce.
Yeah, there's a divorce, Medicaid or not. Now it's me just kind of, hey, but how do we do this in the best way possible, basically, for a 80-year-old woman who might need some assistance in terms of her housing.
So, you know, the reality is, I mean, just in almost a fairly simple sense, you know, when a divorce occurs in this type of situation where, again, it's not really Medicaid related, or we're trying to protect assets, more like, listen, we're ready to get divorced and you needing care is just a fact, then, you know, what's going to happen, what the state of Illinois is likely going to want to see is they're going to want to see a pretty even split of the assets. And I imagine for the most part with an elderly couple or getting divorced, and I don't practice in your area or even dabble in it, but you know, the state of Illinois is probably going to want to see a pretty equal distribution of assets. And so, you know, what they're not going to want to see, because this is what people come to us for, right? People come to us and it's like, we'll have people come to us that are of the mindset of, well, we really don't want to get divorced, but we're thinking about the idea of divorce because maybe we can protect more assets that way. And if we need to apply for Medicaid for, you know, husband or wife that's going into a nursing home. And so people think that they can get divorced just to kind of split up the assets. The problem is a court is not going to be okay. You know, if I'm the one going into a nursing home and my wife is not, the court's not going to be okay if my wife walks away from the divorce with 80% of the assets in her name and I walk away with 20%. Right? Yeah. Our idea is, well, we want you to keep more, even if under normal circumstances I wouldn't want my wife to have more in the divorce. We both know that more will get to the kids if we leave her with more, because the more money that's left in my name, it's inevitably just going to get spent in the nursing home until I run down and apply for Medicaid. So in some situations, there's just not a whole lot we can do. You know, we might just be looking at, okay, this is going to have to be a 50-50 split. And at that point, we might be able to protect some of the assets that are staying in the name of the individual who's applying for Medicaid. You know, there's still some asset protection we can potentially do after the division of assets.
Right. That's cool. No, but honestly, I'm not doing too many divorces with 80-year-olds, but I have one right now. And so it's definitely kind of like, you know, I've had my radar going off a little bit because of that.
Right.
That's a potential issue.
Yeah. It's hard to be.
No, it's a tough. It's a big question for 3 minutes or less.
Yeah, exactly.
But, you know, my plug on the general idea of Medicaid planning is I know my dad did a great job at that with my now deceased grandmother. And, you know, she was living in Florida at the time, but, you know, I mean, to some degree, it's a federal, right? And it's a federal and state mixed program, but I mean, he was able to keep that residence. And I don't know if this was a Florida thing, you know, it's a little bit interesting down in Florida, but I believe, you know, Are you able to even like fix up the house a lot? Like you're able to put money into the house. Is that kind of an exception? I mean, that's just a totally random personal
No.
aside. I just
Yeah,
remember
no,
they
no.
were able to like remodel the house, totally legit, and get my grandmother into a nice facility, all kind of via basically, I think what was effective Medicaid planning.
Was your grandfather still living?
No.
So, I mean, all I can say is from an Illinois standpoint, I can definitely do whatever I want to update the house.
Okay.
But if I'm a single individual, widowed, divorced, doesn't matter. If I'm a single individual,
Right. So widowed
individual
is who this person was.
Yeah. So if I'm not married in any sense, if I'm not married
Right.
and I'm applying for Medicaid and I move out of my house, the house is not a protected asset. I can do work on it, but that's typically not something that, if a single client of mine is going to move into a nursing home and apply for Medicaid, they're probably not going to put that much work into the house. That's going to be more common if there's a spouse still living in the home, because then it makes sense to say, let's update the house. Let's spend 50 grand to update the house because the house is a protected asset for the spouse. However, in Illinois, the house is not a protected asset for a single individual applying for Medicaid. And so the house would have to be sold.
Okay. Interesting distinction there. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it really depends on, I mean, it's pretty fact specific when it comes to Medicaid planning.
Okay. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So, hey, just in wrapping some things up, Matt, thanks again for jumping on here.
Of course. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Your website says, and I mean, I'm quoting this like the New York Times or the Bible or something for validity. You're a self-proclaimed foodie. What could you play that? Well, here, I'm going to direct you to some question or two.
Sure.
So
Sure.
Where's your go-to number 1 or 2 restaurants in Chicagoland if you're a self-proclaimed foodie?
Oh my gosh. I probably need to update my website since moving.
Wait, you don't dine out or what?
Since moving.
I know
to the
you have
suburbs.
younger kids or something. Well, you could be in the suburbs. I mean, I'm just saying,
Totally.
Chicagoland.
No, for sure. I mean, the side note is unfortunately, right, since having little kids, and it's no excuse at all. My wife and I just haven't, we don't go out as much. But I would say, when we were living in the city, love the Bristol, which is at Damon and Webster. So great spot there. I think it's still there. I don't know why it wouldn't be. And one of my all-time favorite places in the city is Publican. I think I want to say Publican. It's over on Fulton. I think it's in Fulton.
I've got
Fulton Market area.
Yeah, are they full dining, or they're notable for their bakeries and breads, right? I feel like a lot of restaurants like even.
Well, there's the Publican. I think Publican has a bakery now. They've also got this PQM, Publican Quality Meats, so you can buy like sausages and some of the meat that they sell that they cook in their restaurant. But
got it.
Publican's awesome, and we've done some. My partner and I have actually done some gifts around the holidays from Publican. They do like you can order their brunch and have it shipped to somebody. For them to, you got to make it. Still got to make it yourself at home. But their claim to fame is like this thick cut bacon. The bacon's like an inch thick. It's insane.
That's good to know. And I think I get your email marketing, and sometimes I see a Matt Margolis behind the cooktop. What's your signature dish?
So yeah, we do. We like to keep it lighthearted, right? Everybody knows what we do for work. I love it.
Absolutely, sure.
So my signature dish. So I started off calling it turkey slop, and that's what my kids call it. But if I want to class it up a little bit, I'll call it turkey stroganoff. So it just randomly made this up one night. It's the quickest way. It's ground turkey, mushrooms chopped up, a little bit of onion chopped up, some chopped up spinach, cook it all down, add some milk, some flour, and two slices of deli American cheese. The best
you had me
cheese
into the American cheese.
The best cheese to use.
Cheese product is what you call that.
Well, the Land O'Lakes. I'm not talking about those crafts, not those craft singles.
Okay, gotcha.
All
right.
And just mix it all up and serve it over some noodles. And it's easy.
That sounds
really
pretty good. It sounds close to turkey tetrazzini, which my wife raves about from the cafeteria at Michigan State University.
Oh yeah, I've never thought about that. You're right.
I don't know. I mean, to me that's a little bit of a what would you call it? secret dish too. You never know really what's in it. I think there's celery in it. I don't think you mentioned celery to give a little.
There might be
crunch.
peas. There might be peas in turkey tetrazzini too. I don't know. I could be making that up.
That's good info though. That's good info. Thanks for the.
Well, that's my
restaurant.
go-to. That's like a once every 2 week meal in our house.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, hey, thanks again for jumping on, Matt. So
Yeah.
super appreciative. And I haven't talked to you in a little while.
I know.
Totally just wrapping up. Your kind of ideal client, and where can people find you if they need some, Medicaid planning at all?
Our ideal client on the estate planning side, anybody and everybody that needs a plan, right? You're over the age of 18, you're a good client of ours.
Okay.
Realistically, you've got some kids, you haven't done a plan. That's a great fit for us. And then on the elder law side, hey, you've got a loved one that's starting to struggle and not doing so well, and you're kind of having a hard time navigating this final chapter of their life. We're happy to be a resource, even if we're not the best fit. In general, we might, we can at least point you in the right direction if there's nothing we can help you with. So people can find us. I don't know what you're going to throw on the screen or what you're going to send out, but our name of the firm is Margolis Weldon. So head to our website.
What's the website?
www.margolisweldon, not welding, WELDON.com.
Okay.
And Lauren and I would be happy to help anybody that needs it.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I'll definitely toss it in the show notes and stuff. And sounds great. Well, thanks for sharing your expertise, Matt. And I think you're my only elder law attorney on my business partner touch plans. So
all right.
I'm trying to toss you some stuff, and hopefully we can get millions of views on this.
That's exactly
Facebook Live video. So
it's the only reason I agreed to this, other
awesome.
than getting to see you.
Okay, cool. Be well. Take care, Matt.
You too, Pete. All right. See you later.